Skip this intro. Who the hell lives in New York City and has never tried a black and white cookie? That's what you're led to believe happened to Hank. But for Hank, that's the least of his problems in this movie. It's called Caught Stealing, and it's on Netflix right now. And I'm so sad that I missed this in the movie theaters because it probably would have been awesome to see on the big screen. Straight off, know that this is a Darren Aronofsky movie. So don't let the happy trailer that I saw fool you. Nobody gets off easy in this movie, not even the cat. So yeah, this movie takes place in New York City in the late 90s. So it's gritty and it's grimy. We've got Hasidic Jew gangsters. We've got the Russian mafia. We've got dive coke bars. And we've got $4 million gone missing, and everybody wants a piece of it. So poor Hank, he gets mixed up in this whole fucking situation just because he has the wrong friend. Or maybe Hank's the wrong friend because everybody he knows seems to end up dying. Maybe that's a deeper message of the movie. Be careful who you're friends with. There's a lot of thoughts on deeper messages for the movie. There's thoughts on alcoholism, accountability, yeah, and like I said, friendship. So it gets deeper than I thought it would be. But it's not all sadness. Don't get me wrong. The movie is absolutely like star-studded. You've got Austin Butler as the main guy. You got Zoe Kravitz. You've got Liev Schreiber and Vincent D'Onofrio, and you've got Matt Smith as a crazy punk lunatic. So the movie has characters galore coming at it. It's got really good car chase scenes. It's got creative fights. It has a lot more than just the drama going for it. It even has like clever use of flashbacks, just kind of revealing a little bit more of what happened each time you see it. I really got a kick out of that. And that really connects back to the main character's accountability when you keep seeing the same scene over and over, revealing just a little bit more so that you kind of understand how it feels. This movie came out way earlier this year, which kind of sucks because I know this movie is going to get forgotten at Oscar time, and it absolutely shouldn't. This is probably one of the best movies I've seen of the year. Darren Aronofsky, the director of this movie, has like, the guy's made Pi, he made Black Swan, he made Mother, he made The Fountain. You haven't necessarily heard of all these movies, but they are all really good. I mean, he made Requiem for a Dream, a movie about drugs so scarring that like to watch that movie more than once is painful. In the end, it's a really good like redemption story where a lot of people are going to die along the way. It's very entertaining, and don't worry about the cat. The cat lives. I'll give you that. But this movie's on Netflix. I think it's on one of the streaming services. You should definitely check this out. I had a really good time watching this movie. It's very good. On HBO Max, there's a really short documentary that if you're a football fan, you're going to want to watch. It's called The Shuffle, and it's all about the 1985-1986 Chicago Bears, which when I think I was 8 years old, and I was absolutely enthralled by that team. The team had a literal giant called the Refrigerator. Their running back was named Sweetness. They had a quarterback who wore sunglasses no matter where he was, even if he was inside. The whole team was nicknamed the Monsters of the Midway. So 8-year-old me, growing up in Derby, Connecticut, the heart of Patriots, Jets, and Giants fans, these guys were like something straight out of the WWF. They were bigger than life. So this documentary is all about the making of the Super Bowl Shuffle. It was a really dumb but really popular music video that came out when I was a kid. And this was a unique team at the time that not only had personality, but also seemed to have like advertising in their blood, because the Refrigerator was also on the G.I. Joe cartoons. He had a little action figure. Jim McMahon, the quarterback, do you remember there was like this paintball Nintendo game I remember that came out? And apparently this all caught the attention of a guy who made cologne. It was called Joe Von Musk. And I guess he knew that music videos were really taking over at the time with MTV. So he gets the idea to be like, hey, let's get these football players to rap. Now, obviously, none of them are rappers. And they're not much for dancers either. Man, they look stiff on there. Like, you know, I have this memory of what it was like when I saw this video as a kid, and then to go back all these years later, almost 40 years later, to go back and watch the making of this, and you really see just how like adults at the time must have viewed this, because it is cheesy, but it's only like a 40-minute documentary. If you're a football fan and you especially like football history, and if you're of a certain age, you're going to remember all these players. And there's some pretty neat like behind the scenes shenanigans that you never knew about, obviously not as an 8-year-old. But like you will learn about how there was a couple players in here who wanted absolutely nothing to do with this. They're like, no. Especially McMahon, the quarterback, he wanted nothing to do with this. It seemed like he had to be forced into it. And what's actually pretty neat is that they had to, you know, music videos at the time didn't use green screens. And you're going to find out that they had to use green screens to get a couple of these guys because they just didn't show up at the shoot. And they had to find a way to like shoehorn them in. They're like, well, kind of frame them and get a couple of guys behind them doing like this, because that was the extent of the football. You know, Gary Fensick's in the background, and he exactly is not a dancer, that's for sure. So I think if you have HBO Max, I think this would be the perfect thing to throw on just before the Super Bowl. Super Bowl's not that far away. So just remember this. When it comes time to whoever makes it to the Super Bowl, and I hope it's the Bears, because then that would be a real reason to watch this. It's funny. You don't just have to be a football fan to enjoy this either, because it's so short, you can just keep it on in the background. Check this out. Do you like low angles? Do you like high angles? How do you feel about early 70s Czechoslovakian art films? Wait, don't scroll away. This movie's got vampires, it's got nudity, it's got witch burnings. Don't run away. So yeah. We're talking about Valerie and her week of wonders. It's all about Valerie. She's this girl who just came of age. And I mean that by she just had her first period, which is not so subtly advertised here on the box cover, because there's a scene where it drips right onto the daisy. So yeah, not so subtle metaphor, right? Valerie lives with her grandma. And I guess, you know, this is old enough times where grandma is like a 40-year-old who doesn't look like a grandma. She just has a little bit of white face paint on, and I guess she's supposed to be old. Now, grandma has been hooking up with this, for lack of better words, they never say it, but he sure looks like a vampire. And they call him the polecat because I guess he can change, you know, vampires can change form. I thought it was into wolves or mists. No, he changes into some sort of ferret-looking thing. So she wants to stay young forever. Vampire's got a solution, but it involves selling out poor Valerie. So poor Valerie, she's running around all naive. She's frolicking through the forest. She's seeing these, I guess, lesbian maidens making out in the river, frolicking around. Oh, by the way, she has magical earrings. Yeah, they kind of tend to get her out of trouble when she puts them in her mouth. I don't know what that's about. This is a weird avant-garde 70s movie. You're gonna see a lot of shit like that. The movie obviously is very strange, but it's also like very beautifully shot. Like whoever did it, every scene is like eye candy. They did it, it's fantastic. But at the same time, they're shooting like very weird stuff going on. Like, okay, there's a vampire in it. Vampires sleep in coffins. But like in this one, the vampire's coffin is filled with not only chicken fingers, but like live chickens start popping out of the coffin. I don't know if that's some weird sort of Czechoslovakian myth, or if it's some sort of symbolism that went over my head because I'm not smart enough to understand what's going on. This is the kind of movie where I figured, like, David Lynch must have loved this movie, because that's what it reminded me of while I was watching. Something that's beautiful to look at, but you don't exactly register in the moment what you're looking at. So like I said, the head vampire, he can turn into a polecat. You've got this weird scene where Valerie's hanging out by a water fountain and all these like shirtless dudes all of a sudden come out with whips. And I thought they were going to attack her, and I was like, oh, this is weird. No, they're like totally ignoring her and they're just whipping the fountain water. There's strange shit like that. There's a scene where she's out in the woods, and in the woods there's this bed, and the bed is encircled by people dancing. Like I said, beautiful to look at. I couldn't tell you what was really going on in this movie. And I can hear like 95% of you out there would just skip this immediately. As soon as you heard Czechoslovakian movie from the 70s, you're like, oh, subtitles. Yeah, I understand. There's a whole crowd who are just going to not want anything to do with that, and that's completely understandable. I'm talking to the 5%ers out there. Somebody who wants to see something that they've never seen before, something that once you see, you're probably not going to forget it. You're going to make a reference to some movie that no one else will understand. This is for the people out there who are adventurous, or perhaps you are somebody who wants to take drugs and watch this movie. Maybe that's the real secret to Valerie's Week of Wonders. You have to be high in order to understand it, but you probably don't. I know it's a long shot, but if it's something you want to see, something you've never seen before, that's where this comes in. You will definitely have never seen anything like Valerie and her Week of Wonders. And the bonus is that on this disc, this is a Criterion Collection movie, there is a alternate score. Like it's more of like somebody went out and did like a Dark Side of the Moon. They created an alternate score to the movie, and it's way completely different to the one you're going to hear in the actual movie. The one in the actual movie is more like classical, whereas the remake one they have as a bonus feature is definitely along the Pink Floyd lines / maybe even more psychedelic. So it gives it, it's a nice little bonus. Check it out. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for watching Quiet Corner TV, Red Hood Movie Reviews. You keep coming back, I'll keep watching, and I'll keep talking. Talk to you later.